So, we're here in Buffalo. We just arrived from Toronto. We're here with Darren. Darren, nice for you having us here. And we're very interested in how the tool library in Buffalo works. But first, can you tell something about why you started the tool library here?
Sure. Yeah, it sort of grew out of my experience living off campus as a student. I was going to the University of Buffalo. Unfortunately, this neighborhood is sort of known for landlords who aren't great at investing in their properties. So me and my friends were just doing a lot of work around our house, but we didn't have the tools to really do a lot of the projects, and trekking 40 minutes to our parents' garage was not the greatest plan. So that's really where the idea for the tool library came from. Sort of giving people who wanted to invest in their properties or who had an idea but didn't necessarily have the tools, sort of giving them that centralized resource where they could come and access the tools they needed when they needed them.
Okay. Great, so it's really a really practical reason. In Toronto, we heard that the primary reason was more sustainability, but that isn't really. That's more secondary for you or something.
Yeah, I guess it was sort of just seeing a need in the neighborhood and trying to fill that need. And I think the fact that you have all these other added benefits is like a really great bonus and
Cool.
makes the tool library that much more valuable of a resource. But yeah, it was really just sort of trying to solve an issue in everyday life.
Okay, great. Can you tell us a bit more about how it works, the tool library?
Yeah, sure. So basically, operates on the same principles as a regular book lending library. Members would come in, sign up for a membership. We have 3 different membership levels depending on how many tools people want to take out. But for the basic membership, it's $20 a year, and that allows people to rent up to 5 tools at a time. They have a week to use them, bring them back when they're done, and then if they need something else, they can do that. $1 a day late fee, and yeah, it's pretty standard across the board. And we have all sorts of members, new homeowners, block clubs, people who are, decided to, on a whim, do some project that they need a tool that they're only ever going to use once in their life, so why go to Home Depot and spend $200? So yeah, I feel like it's been really well received by the community.
Okay, great. And is it so great received that you also are financially sustainable?
Not quite yet. That's sort of that's in the works, and that's hopefully something that we're going to be working towards for this year. We would love to be able to support everything we do just with membership dues. I think that would ultimately be the goal. But we are sustained through sort of a combination of grants, selling some items, consumables, and then also our member dues. But yeah, it would be nice to see sort of that balance shift more towards self-sustainability.
Yeah. So you get a grant of the municipality or from which?
Yep. So the city of Buffalo provides us usually around $15,000 a year, and that really goes a long way in covering just a lot of the overhead. So we don't have paid staff, but things like rent, utilities, insurance, all that good stuff, they really help cover those costs.
Okay. Well, that's really great then. So you're not living from it, but would that be the plan for the future to really expand, maybe with more locations, and by doing that, that you can live from it, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be really incredible to not only be able to sort of offer these resources to the community, but also have opportunities for employment. In a lot of neighborhoods in the city, employment ranges anywhere from 15 all the way up to 50%, and so definitely providing people gainful employment would be something that I would love to be able to do. And I think, like you said, sort of expanding our selection, and then also diversifying sort of what we have to offer. I think there's an opportunity there.
So what do you think is needed to get there?
I think part of it is really just a shift in mindset. So getting people to realize that, not everyone has to own one of everything, and that as a community we can sort of own things in this common sense, and that access is really, in the new economy, it's access and not ownership, and that's something that we always try and we strive to sort of show in what we do. And a lot of the community projects we do, we show that we have the tools necessary. So if a community wants to plant 1,000 trees or wants to board up this vacant building and incorporate public art, here are the tools. You don't have to wait for the city or some big developer to come, but you can put in the sweat equity and come up with the ideas and sort of implement those ideas.
Yeah, that's really great. So because that's what you told us before this interview, that you did a project planting 1,000 trees.
Yes. So Buffalo has sort of gone through a number of, in the 70s there was Dutch elm disease, and then in 2006 there was a huge winter storm, and so we've lost about 30,000 trees in the region. And there has been a regional effort to sort of replace those trees, but specifically we wanted to focus on our neighborhood and plant 1,000 trees. And so right now we're 785 trees in, so 215 to go. We'll be planting those in November. But just sort of everything that we've learned along the way and all the resources that we've been able to accumulate, those are some things that we can share with other neighborhoods, other towns, other cities, and help them sort of help themselves.
All right, cool. And getting back to the point of the need of a mind shift change, do you notice that the shift is starting? Is it shifting?
Yeah, I think definitely, increasingly, especially in Buffalo, I think we're seeing a lot of people in my generation, your guys' generation, are sort of returning to the city, and they see it not for what it once was, the loss of all these jobs and industry, but for what it can be and all the potential there is. An empty storefront to them isn't something that we should think of as blighted. They see it as, oh well, what kind of business could that be, or what kind of opportunity does this present to the neighborhood. And so I think that sort of that mentality of opportunity, but also of community and thinking about things collaboratively is definitely, I see growing in Buffalo. And I think a lot of younger people, maybe it's driven out of necessity, the fact that they have $50,000 in student loans, so they can't really afford to buy everything that maybe their parents' generation could. So I think it's a combination of sort of that necessity to cut costs, but also just realizing that we're sort of at, globally we're at this precipice where we can either decide to, as a society, move forward and progress in a way that is in harmony with the environment that we're living in, or, keep the status quo and hope for the best, I guess.
Hope for the best, indeed.
Yeah.
So you exist since 2012?
Yeah.
What is the most important thing you learned along the way?
The most important thing, I think just not being afraid to fail, honestly. Like, there have been plenty of times where I just sort of sat in the tool library and been like, what am I doing? Like, I put so much of myself and so much time into this, what if it's all just a waste? And, what's the point of it all? But I always have people come in who are like, I don't know what we would do if you weren't here, this has allowed me to do so many things, and that's kind of just what keeps me going. And I think that's what keeps a lot of the volunteers coming back as well, because you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself, and that you're actually, as cliche as it sounds, you're making a difference. And I think in the end that's all we want to do, is make a difference and feel like we've had some sort of tangible impact on the world.
Yeah, cool. All right. What do you think of the biggest challenges for the tool libraries, tool library movement, or just for this tool library year for the future?
I think just we have to learn to trust each other again, and realize that we're all sort of in this together. And so we're kind of just on this tiny blue speck in space, and so it probably is beneficial if we can just like get along and see that it's worth working towards the greater good. But yeah, I mean, people are always critical of, well, don't tools get stolen, or how do you get them back? And I think people are really surprised at how, they see this as a resource and not something to be taken advantage of, because when a tool doesn't get returned, it's not only impacting us, it's impacting hundreds of other members who can no longer, use that tool. So I guess just really rebuilding that sense of trust and rebuilding that sense of community.
Yeah. Wow, great. Last question: what advice would you give people that are or want to set up their own tool library or library of things?
I would say just find a group of people that you like and are friends with, and who have sort of similar mindsets, and it's really helpful to be surrounded by that supportive network, and to have people that sort of see the world the same way you do and sort of share that passion. So really just I lost it.
Yeah, that's a good.
Just
As a
like
team,
finding that community, I
Yeah.
would say, and not trying to do everything yourself. I mean, when we first started, I felt like everything was on me, and so it's a really overwhelming feeling. But I found that I was really good at like graphic design and branding and communications, but we have another volunteer who's really good at like hands-on stuff, and like built our sign outside and has done a lot of other things. So just being able to delegate and find people who together can do a lot more than they can on their own.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's been an awesome experience.